There's a fundamental human need we all share, and that's the desire to feel truly heard. Today, we're going to dig into why some words just carry so much weight and how speaking from a place of real, genuine authority can change everything. So let's start with a question. I want you to think about this for a second. Go back in your mind, maybe to a really tough time. What was that one thing you needed more than anything else, but you just couldn't seem to get? Well, in a study done with teenage prostitutes, this was their answer, almost across the board. Think about that. With everything else they were going through, the one thing they craved most was just someone to listen, someone who actually cared. That tells you something incredibly deep about the human heart, doesn't it? And that longing to be heard, it's not just for people in extreme situations. It's in all of us. It points to this universal need that we don't often talk about. Here's the core of it. Every single one of us has this deep, deep desire to be listened to with compassion and respect. The faith-based source we're looking at today suggests there's actually a perfect model for this, a way of listening and speaking that has the power to literally change lives. To really get a handle on this, we're going to look at the central figure from our source, Jesus. He's presented as someone whose way of listening, and of course speaking, had this unique, completely life-altering effect on basically everyone he met. Okay, so check out this one story. You've got a group of soldiers. These are guys trained to follow orders, no questions asked, and to use force whenever it's needed. Their mission was simple: go arrest this man. But something happened. They came back empty-handed. So of course, their superiors are furious, demanding to know what went wrong. And this was their only explanation. Just think about that. They weren't overpowered. They were just disarmed by words alone. The way this man spoke was so powerful that it completely overrode their training, their mission, all of it. So this really begs the question, right? What was it about his words that gave them that kind of incredible power, that kind of credibility? You see, the source material we're drawing from makes a really sharp distinction between how he spoke and how the other religious and political authorities of the day spoke. And the difference wasn't about being loud or using fancy words. It was about the very nature of the authority behind those words. And here's where we see that key difference. You had the scribes and the officials. They spoke like authorities. They'd lean on their titles, on tradition, on quoting other important people. But Jesus is described as speaking with authority. It wasn't borrowed from somewhere else. It came from right inside him. It was just part of who he was. And this gets right to the heart of that credibility. Real authority comes from perfect integrity. It's when there is absolutely zero daylight between what a person says and what they do. Their entire life backs up their message, and that's what gives their words that incredible, undeniable weight. And the source makes the point that because of that complete integrity, these words aren't just some old text. They're alive. They still have this dynamic impact today. They challenge us when we get a little too comfortable, they comfort us when we're struggling, and they're always, always calling us to change and grow. Which brings us right back to where we started. We live in a world that is just so full of noise, right? Everyone is talking, shouting, posting, but that deep, fundamental longing to actually be heard, to be listened to with real compassion, that's as strong as ever. Now, our source points to the tradition of Lent as a kind of framework for this. It's presented as more than just a religious observance. It's an invitation, a time set aside to intentionally practice becoming better listeners ourselves. And the process it lays out is pretty simple, but really profound. It starts with listening inward, connecting with God or with your deepest sense of truth. And once you feel heard, it equips you to truly listen to other people. And that simple act of listening, is what lets us bring real compassion out into the world. So, we'll end with this thought for you to carry with you. We've talked about this profound need to be heard and the incredible power of words that are backed up by a life of integrity. So the question really comes back to us, doesn't it? In our own lives, with all the noise and all the distractions, who are we failing to listen to?